hall is dimly lit with oil lamps, their flames flickering against the carved stone walls. A gathering of monks, scholars, and theologians sits in rapt attention. At the center of the hall, two figures face each other. One, clad in the simple robe of a Christian friar, his presence at once both imposing and serene. The other, draped in the ochre robes of the renunciate, eyes calm as still water, a mind sharp as a blade honed over lifetime. Aquinas begins the debate with Shankaracharya.
You speak of an impersonal absolute, a formless unity that is beyond distinction. But tell me, if Brahman is beyond all attributes, beyond all knowing, then what do you even mean when you say it exists? Can we say that something exists if we cannot ascribe to it any properties, any will, any purpose? To be is to be something, not mere negation.
It is not negation I speak of, but transcendence. You see, Brother Thomas, the mind seeks always to impose distinctions, to carve up reality into pieces so that it may grasp at them, as a child grasps at reflections in a pond. But when the water is still, the illusion fades. Brahman is not this or that. It is that which allows all things to be. You define existence in terms of categories, but categories themselves are mere reflections of our ignorance.
And yet, if you dissolve all categories, you dissolve all meaning. What you call Maya, this world of distinctions, is not an illusion, but the very arena in which truth is revealed. If all is ultimately one, why do you yourself speak? Why do you offer arguments if there is no true distinction between falsehood and truth?
I speak because speech is a tool for awakening. A dreamer may be caught in a nightmare, but a voice from outside may stir him. This debate is such a voice. It is not to convince, but to unveil. Even your own great tradition holds that Moses could not see God's face directly, but only his passing form. What is that, if not a recognition that the highest truth is beyond all attributes?
It is beyond our full comprehension, yes, but not beyond relation. God is not some abstract principle, an indifferent oneness. He's a personal being who loves, who wills, who acts. The Christian God is not an impersonal void, but the living I am. When Moses encountered the burning bush, God did not say, I am beyond all being, but I am who I am. He is being itself, epipsyme subsistence, not something to be dissolved into, but someone to be in communion with.
And yet, communion implies duality, the lover and the beloved, the worshipper and the worshipped. But tell me, what is this duality but a veil? The river does not seek union with the ocean. It was never apart from it. The moment of so-called communion is only the realization that separation was always an illusion.
But if all distinctions are illusions, why do we experience them so deeply? Why does love move the soul? Why does the heart cry out for justice, for beauty, for meaning? Is that to an illusion? And if so, then what do you say to the mother who weeps for her child? Do you tell her that her grief is not real?
Her grief is real, so long as she remains veiled in Maya. But consider, Brother Thomas, that same mother in a dream weeping for a child she believes lost. If she awakens, does she continue to weep? Or does she see that the loss was never real to begin with?
You reduce suffering to a mere misperception, but that is a denial of justice, of divine purpose. The Christian faith does not seek escape from suffering, but its redemption. The cross is not Maya, it is the very heart of reality. If suffering were merely illusion, then Christ's sacrifice was meaningless, and love itself is a fleeting mirage.
And yet, the moment you call it redemption, you acknowledge that suffering is not ultimate. The fire that consumes wood does not deny the wood. It transforms it. Similarly, the knowledge of Brahman does not dismiss the world, but dissolves the illusion of separation. What you call redemption, I call realization.
But realization alone does not suffice, for knowledge without love is empty. The Christian path is not simply intellectual awakening, but a relationship. What you offer is a vast impersonal stillness, a God who neither loves nor cares, who simply is. But love is the highest reality, not mere awareness.
Love is indeed a path, but paths are meant to be walked until they disappear. A man lost in the desert follows footprints to water, but he does not worship the footprints. Love, as you describe it, requires distinction, and as long as distinction remains, suffering remains. But the highest love is the dissolution of all separation.
And what remains when all is dissolved? If all things are one, then how do you account for the will? If the soul and God are one, then who chooses, who seeks, who loves?
The drop of water does not lose itself in the ocean, it becomes the ocean. The illusion is that there was ever a drop to begin with. The self does not cease to be. It ceases to be mistaken for something separate.
You speak of the self as a drop in the ocean, but the ocean, as vast as it is still distinct from the shore, from the sky, from the earth, and God is not a faceless ocean, swallowing all in its depths. He is the creator, and we, his creatures, are not meant for dissolution, but for communion.
Communion assumes difference, and difference is impermanent. Everything that is distinct fades, Brother Thomas. The wave may rise for a moment, but it was always water, and to water, it will return.
But what of the soul that refuses to return? What of the sinner? If all is Brahman, then even the murderer is Brahman, even the tyrant. If all is one, then there is no justice.
Justice is a notion that belongs to duality. Brahman is neither judge nor executioner. A man who drinks poison does not need punishment. He suffers because of his own ignorance. So too, those who live in illusion suffer the consequences of illusion. Karma is not judgment. Karneho, it is simply the law of cause and effect, which disappears when ignorance disappears.
And yet, even in your own tradition, the righteous are called to act, to restore Dharma. If all is illusion, why do you yourself teach? Why do you guide others if there is no real distinction between wisdom and folly?
The wise man does not teach for himself, but for those still caught in the dream. A physician does not need his own medicine, but he administers it to those who are sick. And you, Brother Thomas, are a physician as well, though our prescriptions differ.
Then let the seekers choose. But I tell you this, love is not an illusion, and the soul does not long for annihilation, but for embrace. Our paths may seem similar, but they do not meet at the end. Your road leads to silence, mine leads to a voice calling our names, and I know which path I shall walk.
And I, mine. Yet, Brother Thomas, do you not hear the echo in your own words? The one you seek has always been within. But we shall see in the end whether the voice calls or whether the silence speaks.
The lamps burn low as the debate ends, but the echoes of their words remain.